Great marketing, in my opinion, is sort of about the magic when creativity and process come together. So it's great storytelling and creative ideas and thinking that will gain you attention combined with the rigor of revenue marketing and the metrics.
When you're building that product, it can't be like a vitamin. It has to be a true painkiller.
It has to be a painkiller, right? I love how you just said that. And I think what's interesting is marketing's job is really around how do you lean into that. And, we have a great storyteller here in terms of how you can tell that story. And then I'm more of that revenue side of the house where, okay, we've told that story. How do I find those right people? And how do I help bring them into our organization, right? And how I look at it is marketing's role is to help the company. The marketing's role is for the company to be successful. If sales hits their numbers and marketing hits their numbers, everybody wins. If marketing hits their numbers and sales doesn't, everybody loses.
I think you're really going to enjoy today's episode. I have two amazing marketers, both of whom are performance-driven. I'd say Randi comes at it from a storytelling side, and Nicole comes at it from a metrics and performance side. And what you're going to find is they both respect both sides of things, and they blend a lot more. So there's that adjustability in them and their willingness to partner with sales. That's something that I've seen across episodes about how you can make your company perform by literally walking in sales' shoes. And so that's something that both of them talk about quite a bit as part of their way of telling stories with true focus on the right metrics and what drives markets. I think what was also interesting, what you're going to find interesting, is that there's a lot going on with AI, and they both are extensive users of AI. Of course, Nicole is from an AI company, but they're not ready to cede total autonomy to it. And I think there's a lot of great reasons for them talking about it and exploring that. And then they're both just genuinely fun and interesting people. That is one of the things about being in marketing, is they have these amazing personalities, big personalities, and you'll truly enjoy that. And if you're a budding marketer, I think what you're going to enjoy by these two industry veterans is how much fun they are, how personable they are, how willing they are to just step out and go beyond themselves. And sometimes that's hard because this is going to be public and in front of a lot of folks, but they're willing to express themselves in that way. And I think that tells you a lot about how genuine they are and how genuine you ought to see yourself as. And I think that's really fun about them, and I hope to take a lot from it. Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Spark of Ages podcast. Today we're doing a special roundtable discussion on how marketers are approaching the everlasting challenges of allocating limited resources to building brand while also fueling demand generation with leads and pipeline. We have two amazing guests. Randi Barshack, she's the Chief Marketing Officer at Dusty Robotics, where they're bringing autonomous robot layout technology to the construction industry. As a 5-time CMO, she has guided companies through 5 major exits, representing over $1 billion in value, including acquisitions by IBM, Intel, Appian, Everbridge, and Adobe. Randi is an expert in category creation across nascent spaces like human-in-the-loop AI and physical robotics. Next, I have Nicole Fuselier. She's the VP of Demand and Growth at SambNova Systems, a company revolutionizing enterprise AI infrastructure and agentic AI. Proudly calling herself a revenue marketer, Nicole has built and led globally scaled teams through multiple acquisitions and IPOs at companies like Matterport, Magento, and Whirl, while also spending over a decade building customer advocacy systems at Cisco. So Randi and Nicole, welcome to the Spark of Ages.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, we did this where we had our growth marketing summit. And as part of that, we're like, let's just do our podcast here as well. And so we have this amazing opportunity to be in person and live as opposed to just in person over the internet. So glad to have both of you here. We're going to get into all kinds of topics about marketing, your areas of expertise. We're going to get into certain opinions you have about the way things are going. And we have a game. Ooh, we have a game too. So that'll be fun. All right, here's for both of you. What does great marketing activity look like in 2026? I have a feeling that you both have similar marketing sounding backgrounds, but your experiences are different, so your answers will be different. So Randy, go ahead, start.
Oh, you would start with me. I actually think great marketing in 2026 doesn't have a new set of attributes, right? Great marketing, in my opinion, is sort of about the magic when creativity and process come together. So it's great storytelling and creative ideas and thinking that will gain you attention combined with the rigor of revenue marketing and the metrics. What I think is different was the efficiency with which you can do that. So I don't think the core components have changed that much. I still think
Still have to tell a great story.
well, it's left brain and right brain. That's what I love about marketing is it's not, you can't pigeonhole us. People always try, right? Like, what bucket are you in? But a great marketing is inherently diverse and diverse sets of opinions and viewpoints and skill sets. And I think that's still the same. But what's so exciting now is the efficiency. I mean, things that literally took months, you can do in minutes. And so great marketers are constantly curious and asking, what if? Like, what if? That's the magic question. What if I did this? What if we targeted these people? What if we use this message? And so you could accelerate those what ifs exponentially now. I mean, exponential doesn't even cover it. It's like crazy.
A different level.
And that's what's different.
Yeah.
I would also add in terms of what's I think is different is the go-to-market alignment. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, right? And as we think about that product market fit in this economy, it's really important that you've got the right go-to-market fit and how the product is actually supporting that market. And I think previously there were things that were nice to have that were out there, right? And what's happened? A nice to have would be something that might make somebody feel really good, but from a profit perspective, it might not actually help drive revenue or it might not actually help drive a business, right? Whereas right now, the aperture where people are willing to spend is things that they need, right? So those pain points that we're solving. So I think what's really changed is things need to be a must-have. And so if you can get that product market fit in something that people need, I think it's getting tighter and tighter.
In the need of the product,
right.
when you're building that product, it can't be like a vitamin. It has to be a true painkiller.
It has to be a painkiller, right? I love how you just said that. And I think what's interesting is marketing's job is really around how do you lean into that. And, we have a great storyteller here in terms of how you can tell that story. And then I'm more of that revenue side of the house where, okay, we've told that story. How do I find those right people? And how do I help bring them into our organization?
That's great. Randy, you wrote a fantastic piece a while back comparing sales and marketing alignment to a marriage. It talks about the notion of shared vows, right? To make target accounts succeed. So in today's environment where pipelines sometimes are shrinking, we've talked about for SaaS firms at least, pipelines are shrinking. And I know you're not exactly that, you're a service. How do you prevent that marriage from ending in a messy divorce over attribution credit for post-sale wins?
Yeah, I will say I'm still married. Look what the blog post, which was at the height of like when account-based marketing was just like the thing you need to have on your resume. What I said was like a lot of times marketers will get caught up in what is an MQL or what is an SQL and the definition. And I said, it doesn't matter as long as it's consistent and you both agree on it. I'm like, you want the criteria to be A and it was B at my last comment, fine. Like as long as we're consistent and agree. So that's when I likened it to the vows. Like as long as you set the rules ahead of time, there's battles you should pick. And so I feel like if I'm working with a sales leader who's got strong opinions, or even a head of business development who's got strong opinions, or head of revenue marketing who's got strong opinions, like the consistency is so much more important than the definition. So that was.
So are you guys going in first before you go into the staff meeting or going into the leadership meeting to align yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, and I also, I have a strong belief, I'm curious here, you have to say.
I have one for her.
Strong belief that there needs to be a connection between sales and marketing at some level. And in different companies, I've seen that at different places. Sometimes, yeah, like I was at one company where our VP of demand gen and our VP, we had a very large SDR team. They were so connected that they had like Benifer type name that we used to call them. And so the head of sales and I didn't need to be talking every day because they were. Sometimes it's myself and the head of sales. Like sometimes it's just the two teams are really, the demand gen team.
Right, and
and
you were
SDR
talking about that. Do you want to make sure the individual contributors are actually connecting? with each
Yeah,
other?
and
they're
as long as you've got the alignment, like the definitions don't matter. I always tell my team that, like, don't get hung up on out of the box definitions. It's just as long as we're consistent, that's what matters.
That's great. And so, Nicole, you've been very vocal about completely ignoring the MQL and optimizing solely on pipeline metrics, like revenue and true hand raisers. So for demand gen leaders who are terrified of abandoning this notion of an MQL and their MQL volume targets, what's the first operational step they need to take to successfully transition to your revenue marketing mindset?
I think it's about knowing what are the things that actually convert into pipeline, like knowing what things are working, right? And how I look at it is marketing's role is to help the company. The marketing's role is for the company to be successful. If sales hits their numbers and marketing hits their numbers, everybody wins. If marketing hits their numbers and sales doesn't, everybody loses, right? And so what I think about it is I own a target just like sales. And a couple companies that I worked for, I actually was compensated just like sales, right? And what that did is that brought that alignment to the fact that I was set up and compensated the same way in terms of owning a
I think
pipeline.
the nice part is you both know that you're in alignment, so there's that
Yeah.
increased level of trust.
And how I feel is that, like, if let's say she's the CMO and I'm her right hand, my job is to own the relationship with the sales organization, right? And the field team and the sales ops. She and the CRO obviously have to have a great relationship too. But ultimately, I've got two bosses in this case, right? Where I'm really trying to make sure that I'm helping that marriage, but I also am like, I don't know how you say that I'm the third wheel, I guess. I don't know. But counselor. I'm the glue. That's a better way.
Friend.
Yeah. But ultimately, my goal is to make sure that sales is successful and we hit our numbers together and that everybody can look at the pipeline build.
So how do I give up MQLs? I don't
even
I
measure.
love my MQL targets. You say, abandon it. Like, what's the first step I would take? Is a person who's very MQL driven and that's their playbook?
I would look at go first, look at your pipeline,
Yeah.
right? Where are you seeing the things that are actually converting pipeline? And like for us, we know hand raisers are the things that, people have said, I want to talk to sales, right? So if people are coming in inbound and saying, I want to talk to sales, qualify them, right? Qualify and make sure that, and I jokingly call this hot, right? So right now I'm doing the qualification. I'm actually going through myself and making sure that it's actually somebody that I would want my sales team spending time.
Right over.
I'm not going to send anything. And my issue with the MQL is even if you guys can come up with a shared agreement, there's still this need for the AE that has to hit a target, right? And if they're not hitting the target fast enough, no matter what agreements that you have in place, and I've ran BDR teams, I've had SDR teams and BDR teams report to me as well. Even with them, my goal is what I hand over to sales is the best thing it can possibly be.
Then you're building confidence.
Because if I build trust with them, if I send somebody a Slack on my sales team and it says, this one's hot, please follow up, I want them to run. And I want them to have confidence that what I've sent them is quality.
That's fantastic.
Can I add
Please.
something? I'm kind of agreeing and disagreeing. So we do use MQLs, and it's actually back to my earlier part. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on the company. And there's one difference, which is we score MQLs based on two criteria. So we think of it very much as like a matrix, and so it's fit and intent. So if you don't hit a threshold on both, you're not considered an MQL. But what I was
Because that's a much higher bar than many people have.
Yeah, well, it's more like because sometimes someone's like, look at this, company, and I'm like, they didn't do it. You just have their name. Like they have no awareness, no interest.
Somebody that
Don't
filled out
waste
the form.
your time. Like it's tempting, but don't. They were, there's even a difference if it's a scan at a booth versus they were on the registration list.
But that's what I mean by hand raisers.
Right,
Like I personally don't gate anything because to me, somebody who filled out a form because they downloaded a piece of paper, who cares?
That's not
right.
Yeah,
They stopped by our booth and got a lead. It doesn't. Those things.
not
Those
an
are.
intent lead.
got to be.
They're not showing any real intent to saying I want to actually have a conversation.
But I think what really good marketers do, which is what Nicole's saying, is sometimes my team will be like, we hit our MQL goal. I'm like, it's not a goal. It's an indicator. It's just an early indicator of if we think we're going to hit our SQO goal, which is, by the way, it's a goal, but it's also an sales qualified opportunities, which is,
so that has to go through a bunch of gates before it gets.
Yes, and there's very specific, but even though that's a goal of marketing, that's an indicator as well of if you're going to hit the bookings number. Like rubber hits the road with bookings. Like,
see, I agree with what you're saying around it being there's indicators. I would just go one step further in terms of like even a sales qualified opportunity to me isn't enough. It needs to be at a stage 2 opportunity, which has the highest intent of pipeline.
What does stage 2 mean?
Stage 2 in our case means an NDA has been signed. They've already confirmed that there's a use case, there's a pain point, the conversations have taken place. And so that there's an NDA signed with an indication they're going to have further conversations.
That means they've put something into the next step.
Most marketing people, and I don't disagree, most marketing people would not agree to that. But if you're in a situation where you've inflated pipeline for years and you're still not making your numbers, you have to find a way to make pipeline, and those targets, you have to have better quality. And that's the only way to do it. It makes it harder for marketing to be successful. Don't get me wrong. It makes it harder for us, but it's the right thing to do for the business.
Yeah, but marketing's not the only one that inflates it. Sales also inflates it, right? So you have to get those definitions right.
It catches up to you eventually. Because if you let more stuff through the gate, then your win rate goes down. And so then when you recalculate how many you need, then you need more. So I keep saying, like, it doesn't matter. Like,
you have to see it all the way through.
You can have...
And then go back and...
You can have great win rates, and then you need fewer opportunities. Or you can let all the opportunities through, and then you're going to have low win rates, and so you need higher coverage multiple. Like, you can't cheat it. Right? There's cheating.
Eventually catches up. So Randi, you've described your marketing philosophy as a medley of hardcore metrics with stunning creative storytelling. So now that you've been at Dusty Robotics, right, marketing physical AI to the construction industry, right? It's a space notorious for being very traditionally minded, not necessarily trusting new fancy digital technology. How do you use the narrative and brand storytelling to win over skeptical buyers without losing sight of performance metrics?
Yeah, there are a couple ways we do that, and they are very skeptical. In some ways, I've sold to developers before, and in some ways, construction reminds me of developers because, like, you have to be so authentic. You can't have any marketing,
no fluff,
no marketing gloss, or they'll see right through it. And I love that actually as a marketer. I think those are the more challenging and more fun. There's two things. One's really interesting in physical AI, and I wish I could say this was my brainchild, but it was not something I inherited. Our robot has eyes. He or she, whatever, is very cute. And actually, initially, that was because people were kicking the robot when on site. And so we made it in robotics, like and physical AI in general, there's a lot of thought and intention around how you want to manifest the humanity or the living aspect of that, because you don't want to be too threatening. You don't want to try to be too human if you're not. We actually don't make the robot talk because we don't want people then you start to have biases and opinions. And to me, that's part of storytelling, right? Is the way people interact with your product, the way you package and manifest it. The other thing is the industry is no one wants to be first, but also no one wants to be last. So one thing we're really fortunate, we have hundreds of customers that are really, really excited about what we do. And so we're constantly using customer quotes, customer testimonials, customer social. We have a page right now, it's buried. So it's a problem we're fixing. That's just post after post after post of like people love our robot. Like I remember one post they had Dusty.
So people are showing love to the robot.
Yeah, Dusty was parked in Employee of the Month parking spot, and they love like the videos, and then they're talking more and more about being able to articulate the value. So part of the way we do that storytelling given the audience is framing and shaping the story of customers, but allowing the customers to tell our story.
Nice.
Versus us.
So trying to take it, enhance it, and drawing it. Nicole, to ensure tight alignment, you actively bring BDR and MDR teams under your marketing umbrella, right? So rather than having them just report to sales. So how's having inside sales report to marketing change the dynamic of what constitutes pipeline?
I think what, as I was talking earlier, I go farther into the funnel, right? But I also say I would take one step back as I think I understood, or I thought I understood what marketing needed to do on a pipeline side. And then I managed the BDR team, right? And recognized that how they were motivated was different and how they were successful and handing things off to sales. And I will tell you, that switch of actually managing the BDR team made me a better revenue marketing leader.
Yeah.
And it helped me understand the things that they care about. And it helped me understand how the sales teams need it. And the dynamic of me actually being compensated like sales, it changed my entire thought process, right? So I jokingly say there was a before and after in terms of how I thought of marketing. And I would say, back to your question around, I've done it both ways where it sits in both in organizations. I would say now,
And the studies showed that they're both. They're sales,
they're both.
marketing, sometimes they're mixed.
It doesn't matter, kind of like what she was talking about the marriage, which I have to say, I am going to go read that blog now. I was excited to read it.
She talks about, and I think you've done it, walking 10,000 steps in their shoes.
Yeah, right. And I think it's what helped me understand what their shoes were like. And actually, I jokingly say, like, I did a blitz day with the BDR team where I got on the phone and I made all those calls just like them. And I got hung up on all the time. And when they started hanging up on me, the team would started cheering, be like, yes, because I felt the pain that they felt, right? And I think until you're a marketing person living in their shoes, you don't really understand some of that dynamic. So it, again, like I said, it changed the way that I thought about things. But I don't think it has to sit in marketing or sales. It goes back to, we need to be aligned on what that is. I will say though, when you're trying to find product market fit and you're trying to figure out what's working, I think it's really beneficial for it to sit in marketing in the beginning. Because if you're wanting me to take a stage 2 number, I need to have the feedback loops to understand what's
You need
working.
rapid feedback loops so you can play with your messaging, your targeting, your
Right.
messaging.
And I need to know what's working, right? And you asked that in the very
And
beginning.
you're getting that feel.
And I'm getting that feel and I'm living in it. Now, once we even know that, and then you're more focused in like helping the sales team grow on that outbound side, then I can understand why you might need to switch. So sometimes it really depends on where you are in that cycle and where you're and what you're trying to accomplish. So I don't mind it either way, but I've got to have the feedback to be able to know what's going to help drive the numbers.
You laid it out really well. It's really helpful for folks who are dealing with it at different stages in a product and company's life cycle.
Also, even from a story perspective, like I always have to like remind myself, I'll just like shot color myself because I'll say it and then I forget. Like you do the deck every year. Like here's our pitch deck, our big deck, and it's lovely. And then immediately the reps like start changing things on the fly. Then you're like, oh, we're going to do the deck so they can't change it. We're going to make it. So I always make myself go out and present. I tell my team, like, you have to go present. And what are you doing? You're on the plane changing the deck because you're like, oh, well, so it's the same thing. Like, you cannot be out there enough, or you cannot be on the phone enough. You cannot be talking to prospects enough because you're in the shoes and you realize like, actually the deck's a little rigid, and getting people like and adjustments are really important.
Okay, so this is for both of you. The average tenure of a CMO is notoriously short, and boards are increasingly impatient for immediate revenue. Based on your collective exits and high growth experiences, what's the one vanity metric marketers need to permanently ban from board decks today? And then conversely, what's the one brand metric they must start fiercely defending to ensure long-term company survival?
Wow. That's a good question. Oh, this is a tough one.
This is a really good question.
So what's one vanity metric that you should remove?
Yeah.
That you've seen from others, because you may have already removed it from your analyses. And what's one brand one that you should put in?
I would put share of voice in because I think the big shift that's happened from my perspective is, I used to say, you can read about it, is a few years ago, I would have said 80% of your budget should be more focused on the demand piece and like 20%. But I would say over time that has completely changed because trust has, really gone down, right? And I really think, and buyers really need to know who you are before you have any sales conversation, and that keeps growing. So from my perspective, the balance of brand and demand constantly shifts, and it goes up and down all the time based on what's happening in your space, in your industry, in the world, right? And I think the thing that's helped me is going in and getting the alignment with the leadership team of what's that percentage that we agree about. And because I've been in plenty of board meetings where people look at the marketing numbers or they look at the marketing budget and they look at, customer acquisition costs, and they blend all of that information, right?
They do it anyways.
And they do, and when they do that, they're missing the point that this bucket of dollars is really supposed to do X, and what that's giving you is different than Y.
It's a long-term brand is more about driving that long-term value. As we've talked about even during our conference, harder to attribute exactly. It's a complex, nonlinear system of how people buy. So you have to look at it differently. And so share of voice is a great way of telling it.
Well, and also I think John kind of shared yesterday. John Miller. Yeah, he was kind of sharing yesterday that, just be able to show the type of traction that you're getting around your share of voice and understanding the sentiment around your share of voice and how you rank to your competitors is making sure that you're one of the 3 people up in discussion, because that we were saying is that prior to any conversation with sales, if the feedback is if sales is only involved in 20% of a buyer's actual journey and 80% of all of that is happening way ahead of time, then brand is where they're going to find out who you are.
Content,
and they're going to review all of that stuff. And then on top
like on
of that,
Dusty Robotics, there are people reading about their experiences with a robot.
Right. And so I guess my point is that you need to split out those 2 goals and get people aligned on what those goals are.
Any thoughts on it?
I think there's such a
Is it why it's trying to get out that you see?
I mean, there's so many junky metrics.
I know you're about a few things. I think that's what I read about you, is that you like fewer metrics than many.
Oh, I don't know if I love metrics, but there's metrics that you don't show people. Like they're, again, like indicators. It's all a Rube Goldberg machine. So you need to know what everything's doing, but you don't
need to present all.
The board does not need to see that. I mean, there's like website traffic and stuff like that like,
It's garbage.
I mean,
but I've seen this in private equity meetings, where they'll look at website traffic, search engine keyword related stuff. Seriously, and they'll sit there and they'll talk to us about what's going on, and we're like, look, the world has changed because of AEO and GEO, right, with AI engines.
Yeah.
And actually, our strategy has not been to have them come to the front page, and you're only using the similar web tool, only going to the front page. You're not looking at all the other metrics. So all the other indicators say you're fine.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't.
I mean, I like to say there's fat funnels and skinny funnels, and you want your funnel to look like a short champagne flute.
Huh?
That's optimization. So you can still have a fat funnel and get to what you need, but you're gonna, if they're low cost, great. But if they're high cost, no. So I always like talk. So there's a lot of nuance, and boards are very bright people often, but not necessarily patient. So like, don't have that conversation. Just put what matters to the business. I think in terms of metrics that I'd like to see, and you touched on it, and actually, Nicole, you touched it with, it's somewhere around share of voice, but also now it's like one metric I always look at brand searches, right? And then also, when you're bidding against competitors, I guess I have to say, because that's a strong strategy. Hopefully my competitors aren't watching this, but look at how frequently people are searching on competitors versus you, and so you get a feel. But now you have to go so far beyond traditional search, and I think with some of the new tools you can really look at engagement and social, but also start to break that off of what's junk and just people like the cute robot, and what are actually meaningful. So we're starting to investigate ways we can really look at social engagement, because you can get thousands of likes and replies, and
you want to see how that converts. You want to get a feel for.
Well, it's awareness, but also indicators. So I think those are going to be some of the more meaningful metrics.
That's kind of a share of voice proxy metric.
Yeah.
So this is about marketing in the age of AI and agents. So the traditional marketing playbook is being dismantled. And the line between telling a story and managing a technical pipeline has all but vanished in the wake of agentic AI. To put our marketing heavyweights to the test, we're going to explore whether the future of growth belongs to the storytellers or the system engineers. We've compiled several controversial predictions for 2026 that challenge the very core of the profession, from the total extinction of the CMO role to a world where AI agents, not humans, make the buying decisions. So here we go. In 2026, waiting for a human to approve AI-generated marketing content is a competitive disadvantage. To win, brands must move to autonomous marketing, where AI agents research, create, and deploy campaigns in real time without human intervention.
No.
Nicole? No!
AI is not ready for that. There's a lot of things that AI can do to automate things. And I think there's two different types of AI. There's things that you do one-on-one with AI, and there's things that are more system agent based that, flows things through automated paths. But in each of those steps, a human needs to review it, look at the site sourcings, make sure that it actually maps to what you expect it to output. They need to check that it's actually factual. Over time, it might get better and better, and I believe it will get better and better. But a human actually needs to think through those processes. Now, what I think it's going to do is going to make it easier for humans to get more things done. It's going to remove a lot of those simple tasks, and it's going to allow humans to really focus on that strategic work. So I think people who understand systems can really help further that along.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some low-hanging fruit where it's almost there. Like, we have an agent that we've trained to write case studies through multiple iterations of, we want to be more bold, we want to so it's almost like it's forcing a really beautiful discipline of giving feedback in a very constructive way. So each time now we almost go straight from interview to first draft. And so probably by next year, you almost could get there. But I remember I was going through a company where we rebranded from the bottom up. We renamed the company. And we intentionally kept the team really small. It was just 3 of us that were involved in the process. And my CEO at the time was like, if everyone's got an opinion, you're going to end up with vanilla. And I think AI, from a creativity standpoint, is still there. You're still going to get vanilla, predictable. And great marketing is when you take risks and you're like,
they don't go to the edge.
Yeah, they don't.
I've seen that with messaging. That
you're like, should we do this? I don't know. When are we going to get in trouble? And those are the ones where you hit it out of the park. And so I don't think it can do it yet. And okay.
I like that. Great answer. Here's another one. Hyper-personalization is an expensive AI-driven delusion that yields diminishing returns. In 2026, the real winners will stop chasing individual data points and return to universal excellence, relying on the power of a single, brilliant, category-defining message that resonates without needing a private data profile to work.
That one
both
makes me,
like, no.
That just makes me giggle.
You can just say no, and that's it.
No. The ability that AI has in terms of creating the personalization and making sure, as you're thinking about how you reach out or the conversations that you have, that's the brilliance of AI. It's making you much more rich in terms of how you communicate. So this is one of the best positive things AI can do for us.
Yeah. It's a little Goldilocks, like you don't want too much personalization, you don't want too much generalization, but generally I disagree. But people still buy wanting to what's everyone else doing? It's partially why I'm here. What are all my fellow marketers doing? How are they figuring things out in this age of AI, right? So I think there's still I want to feel like I'm part of this group and buying, but you have to really understand how do your buyers identify? Do they identify by industry, by firmographic, by individual, is their first name, John?
So you're saying you still have to have an overall strong story before you personalize. Is that what?
Yeah, you should have a strong story and then personal. But there's some personalization that's so bad, even though you get it when it's hey, I saw you went to Bucknell. I know someone who went to Bucknell.
Yeah, I've had someone write, Crimson Rocks. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, and like
But that's not personalization. That's just goofiness.
right,
Right.
and
That's
so
what I don't. That's not quality.
But if you can understand their challenges and it's likely going to belong to a group and not be personal, like down to you individually. So if you can get smaller, more targeted messaging, it's really we're going to talk later about ICP, like more bespoke ICP, but I don't think it's like down to the individual level.
Right. Okay, next one. Enterprise procurement agents are now programmed to block all unsolicited marketing. The cold outreach era is over. If you aren't pre-approved by a company's internal AI auditor, your marketing will never be seen by a human eye.
I think it's getting.
Nicole actually said yes to this one.
I actually think it's getting harder and harder to get through people, right? And I think there's actually a lot of, because everybody is using AI and everybody is, they talk about the spam, right? They talk about how much email that everybody's getting, and it's a bit ridiculous, right? Which goes back to the earlier question about personalization and how important that is. I'm also starting to wonder, though, is there other ways that we're reaching out, like on LinkedIn and on social, and like other ways that we could be reaching out that's not email based that we might need to start considering? And I think it also comes back to the source, who's actually doing the reach out, because I don't think if there's some credibility around the source, people are going to be like, I don't know this person, right? So I think we need to start thinking about how we approach and the credibility around the source and the people who you're working with and how to best reach out. And I think that's evolving.
Okay. What do you think about these filters stopping you from even getting to them?
I think I totally agree with Nicole. I think we're going to start seeing them more and more. Certain sectors less so. Like I don't think construction companies are you're running around with filters, but
the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, probably is putting them up
if they have one, right,
for themselves.
But we're going to have to find new ways. That's like market. There was marketing before there was internet. Bye.
Really?
Before there was email. Yeah, and so it's getting more.
It's before you were born. It's okay.
Good marketers kind of are up for the challenge and enjoying it. We're going to have to find different, better ways. I think social is really interesting, but then also in person and physical still works. Shaking hands still works. It can be expensive, but
that channel still works. There's someone here at the conference that still employs door knockers.
Yeah.
For a remodeling business. Okay, so since AI can generate stunning creative for pennies, great storytelling is no longer a competitive advantage. The only thing that matters in 2026 is managing the infrastructure or the pipes through which the content is delivered.
This is her ballywag. I'll let her.
No way. It's the execution. Maybe you could say the directors are commoditized. Sorry, guys, no offense. But the script, you still need that original script. You can get I could push a button and write a Hallmark movie right now, but we all know exactly what's going to happen, right? She goes from the big city to the hometown over the holidays and falls in love, meets the lumberjack. Yeah. But if you want something original, no. But I did a presentation at a conference a couple weeks ago. I was a little last minute with it. So I started the presentation at 10 o'clock at night the night before. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to use AI to generate images, but I'm going to tell people I did rather than pretend that I didn't. So once I did that, the floodgates opened and it was like wackadoo stuff. And the images were hysterical. And I had so much fun with it. And so I think, again, if you're creative, out of the box thinker and storyteller, you don't need an elaborate shoot for something to happen. I did a team on a construction site celebrating, but I wanted it very 5-year-old girl birthday theme. So they had pink cupcakes. It was burly men with pink cupcakes. And I'm like, and just for shits and giggles, put a unicorn in there somewhere. And so there's a little unicorn poking his head around the corner. Right. And it looked like a professional photo shoot. It looked completely real. So you can have a ton of fun, but you still need the spark and the trigger.
I've seen you put llamas in your videos. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it goes back to what she talked about the edge, right? Yeah. I think it's too generic. It's not going to push on certain stuff, and I think the pushing is going to come from the people.
The people, man, it's amazing. Okay, now comes the game.
I'm a little nervous for this one.
No.
You should be. It's a hard one. Just kidding. It's not about getting it wrong or right. You'll be fine. Welcome to the Spark Tank. Today, we're joined by two marketing titans who specialize in building categories where none ever existed before. First, we have Randi Barshack, the CMO of Dusty Robotics. Next, we have Nicole Fuselier, the VP of Demand and Growth at SambNova Systems. Randi and Nicole, your careers are defined by precision, whether it's robotic layout accurate to the millimeter or demand gen funnels optimized to the dollar. But today, we're pivoting from the job site and the data center to the legendary boardrooms of history's most disruptive leaders. This is the Architects of Authority Challenge, where we're putting your inference engines to the test with a high-stakes game of two truths and a lie.
Oh, wow.
We're going deep into the playbooks of icons like Indra Nooyi, Ginny Rometty, and Carrie Palin, women who have broken the mold of corporate expectations and rewrote the rules of how to lead. Are you ready to prove that your instincts are as sharp in history as they are in the future of robotics and AI?
Not sure, but we'll give
Wow.
it a try.
Let's give it a try.
Don't worry, I usually lose these games. Okay, I'm going to give you three, and one of them's a lie. And then at the end, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to give me a 1, 2, or 3 physically
Of what the lie is.
of the lie.
Okay.
Okay? Because then you can't cheat.
Okay.
Okay.
I was hoping we could do it together.
And we may go to that. We're going to start with Indra Nooyi, the game changer CEO of PepsiCo, right? The first woman to run a Fortune 100 company. Early in her career, Indra Nooyi turned down a major promotion at Motorola because she refused to relocate her young daughters and extended family to the new city, later citing the incident as the moment she realized you can't have it all at once. So that's number one. Number two, she, Indra, once personally wrote letters to the parents of her top executives, thanking them for raising leaders as part of her philosophy that work and family are inseparable in how people show up. Or number three, as CEO of PepsiCo, Indra pushed a performance with purpose agenda, tying growth targets to goals like reducing sugar in products and improving the company's environmental impact. Okay, so ready? The first one is she turned down a promotion early in her career at Motorola because of family. Number two is she wrote to the parents of the top executives, thanking them for how they raised leaders. And number three, part of her performance with purpose agenda was, in addition to the growth targets, there's goals like reducing, sugar in products and being healthier and environmentally safer. So ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, we have some differences. Okay, Nicole, why'd you pick 3 as the false answer?
Because while I believe that she obviously cares about the environmental issues, my understanding is that came later, right? And that wasn't earlier kind of in her career. And I think it was somebody else that came in and kind of instituted some of
All
that.
right, we may stand corrected on this one. Okay, ready? Why'd you pick 2?
I actually wanted 1 and 2. I liked 1 and 2 the most. But I was thinking just because she was a woman that it wouldn't have looked great to have the more kind of business oriented one be the lie. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay, so you said 2 is the lie,
I said 2.
writing to the parents.
I was just thinking maybe like
Sorry, that's too touchy.
No. I loved it. And I was hoping actually 1 and 2 were the true ones. But I was thinking maybe the leaders were so old that their parents might not have been around. So like maybe just that might.
Okay, what if I told you the answer was 1, the false answer?
Wow.
Okay, yeah. So
We both got it.
Yeah.
yeah, so basically
good at this.
number 2, she did write letters to parents.
I love that.
Yeah, I do.
She's famous for visiting and writing the parents of senior PepsiCo executives, telling them that how much their children were contributing. She framed it as honoring invisible emotional labor and refining leadership as deeply relational, not just corporate.
That's cool.
Number 3 was actually true, performance with purpose, which you'd be surprised about, right? They're selling sugar water.
Yeah.
She was explicitly linking financial performance with healthier products, lighter environmental impact, and better treatment of people in the value chain. It was a deliberate move away from purely short-term shareholder-only models. And number 1, while she's famous for her 2014 Aspen Ideas Festival quote, "I don't think women can have it all. I just don't think so," she never turned down a major promotion early in her career to avoid relocating away from her extended family. In fact, her career trajectory was defined by the opposite. Moving from India to the US to attend Yale, moving for roles at BCG, Motorola, ABB before joining PepsiCo. She often speaks about the guilt of moving and working rather than the refusal to do so. So these are tough.
There's a lot of guilt. I think it's hard. Guilt's a thing.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go to Ginny Rometty, the CEO of IBM. Number one, Ginny Rometty championed the idea of new-collar jobs at IBM, pushing the company to hire workers without four-year degrees into high-skill roles in areas like cloud and cybersecurity. Number two, as CEO, she publicly argued that leaders should practice good power, defining it as using influence to drive broad social progress, like expanding access to skills rather than just maximizing shareholder returns. Number three, early in her career, Rometty abolished performance reviews for senior executives, replacing them with anonymous peer voting on who had the most natural leadership each year. So which one's the lie? New-collar jobs, not just making, not just college degrees, but you can do high school or whatever for all these jobs. Number two, good power, influence about good social progress. And then number three, a natural leadership pull. So which one's the lie? 3, 2, 1. Okay. 2, Randy, why'd you pick 2?
I just think I meant to pick one. Sorry. Maybe you need to cut this. I picked 2.
Pick 1.
Can I change it to 1? I think I think I was like confusing them. I feel like that's more of a thing now, but maybe
back then
it wasn't so much.
Yeah.
And that 2, in some ways, was leading up to that. It's more looking at the skills. And 3, 3 I liked, but I feel like it might not have flown well. But I'm very bad at this game.
Okay, it's all fun. Go.
I chose 3. I just don't think it would have. I don't think it would have flown well. I can't imagine the board being like, "Sure, do that."
Yeah. All right. So the winner of this one is Nicole.
Woohoo!
There you go. Okay. Number 1, new-collar jobs. That actually was true. She was the pioneer.
Interesting.
Ginny was the pioneer. Rometty pushed the term new-collar jobs to describe roles that rely on specific technical skills rather than traditional university pedigree, and drove IBM to build apprenticeship and training programs to people from non-elite backgrounds who could enter high-value B2B tech work. Number 2, good power philosophy is actually true. In speeches and later writing, she framed leadership as good power, using a big platform and corporate scale to open up education, reinvent worker skills, address societal gaps, not just hit quarterly returns. It was a deliberate contrast to the more old-schooled, hard-edged image of enterprise tech bosses. And why number 3 is a lie, while Ginny did blow up the old-school annual review and replaced it with a real-time feedback system called Checkpoint, she was still a traditionalist at heart when it came to accountability. She believed in good power, but she wasn't necessarily ready to turn IBM into an episode of Survivor. It's another fun one. Okay, here's number 3. So you're in the lead. Woo! Randy, you have a chance to catch up. Here we go. Round 3. And the last question for this section. Carrie Palin, it's a C-suite B2B marketer who's led global marketing at major enterprise tech companies like Dell, Splunk, and Cisco. At a time when competitors like Workday were doubling down on celebrity-led Super Bowl spots, Carrie Palin became the first CMO in Dell's history to refuse a big game ad buy, arguing the budget was better spent on bottom-of-the-funnel field events and in-person education. Number 2, at Splunk, Carrie fundamentally rebranded the marketing department as a growth engine, reportedly banning any internal discussion of marketing at a cost center. She famously told her team that if they couldn't demonstrate a direct data-backed MQL to closed-won journey, they had no business asking for a seat at the budget table. Or number 3, Carrie Palin famously dismantled the vanity dashboard at Splunk and shifted her team to a unit economic model of marketing. She reportedly tracked a high-stakes internal metric, pipeline created per marketing dollar, effectively forcing every team to justify their headcount and budget through the lens of a sales equivalent quota. So, which one's a lie? You ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. Why'd you say 2?
because I believe number 3 is true. And if number 3 is true, then number 2 is not.
Huh? It's good logic. All right,
Oh,
Randy.
man.
Why'd you pick number 1? Stick by your answer.
I picked one. It was more of a gut feel. So,
Just felt right.
yeah.
That you wouldn't abandon
Yeah.
big sports themed events. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Nicole.
Number 1 is the lie.
Oh.
That's twice that we both picked the wrong one. That's funny.
So it's a tie.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Congratulations to both of you. Yeah, so number 2 was the truth. In her B2B roles, Palin was associated with revenue-led marketing model, where marketing is accountable for pipeline creation and contribution, not just impressions or awards. That no more fluffy marketing stance is part of why she's seen as a modern enterprise CMO. Number 3, while the exact label here is stylized for the game, Palin is representative of B2B leaders who collapse sprawling dashboards into a small set of hard metrics, especially revenue influence and sales alignment, rather than obsessing over a dozen softer KPIs. It reflects her broader approach, fewer, more commercial success measures. And why number 1 is the lie, B2B tech brands sometimes do big sports placements, but there isn't a standout documented story where Palin personally killed a planned Super Bowl ad and redirected the entire budget solely to field events and in-product education. Okay, now we're gonna go to this fun part, personal closers. I'll ask you a quick question. Just answer with whatever pops up to the top of your head. There's, just like before, no right answer. Randy, if you had to pick a superpower based purely on making life more convenient, not saving the world, what would it be?
I think it would be not needing sleep.
Oh.
Because I love to sleep, but there's so much I want to do. So I would love not to need
Do
sleep.
you find yourself just staying up later and later to do extra things?
No, I fall
you fall
asleep
asleep?
because I get tired and I'm like, oh, I'll just get up early in the morning. And I wish I didn't love sleep. I mean, or I could like split myself in half and sleep and then stay up.
Severance for sleep.
Yeah, like more hours in the day. If I mean, you said superpower, so we can like
right.
think big.
Do
Yeah.
anything you want.
So like getting an hour of sleep and feeling like I got 12 hours of
That's
sleep.
awesome.
That would be the superpower.
I like that. Okay, Nicole, what's something you're embarrassingly competitive at that doesn't matter at all?
So it's kind of silly, but I met my husband analyzing the NBA by statistical analysis, right? A very exciting, sexy story. But I pride myself on being really good at sports and understanding sports. And so I will debate and compete stuff with my husband on certain stuff. And 9 out of the 10, he knows it a lot better than I do, but I still have to win and try to.
So which sport statistic do you...
It changes from either hockey or the NBA. It usually is usually in there. But right now we're heavily into the Sharks and what's going on there, right? But
Yeah, Macklin.
yeah, we love
Sabrina.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
Awesome. Randy, what's something you wish you could experience again for the first time? It's like that Foreigner song, feels like... Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be PG rated, right?
No? No? No?
I love you. I love you so much.
I have to say, I think having my baby, like, I think I'd want to go back there. Yeah.
The process of delivery of?
No, yeah, not that, but
I mean, it could be.
maybe.
My wife was like,
Because I didn't really remember it. Yeah, there were a lot of drugs involved and stuff. So I maybe like go back. And we were trying to be all like, we're too good to have a camera and take, we're above that. And I'm like, why didn't we have a camera so I could go back and relive it? Yeah, I think.
wow, good. I like
going
that.
back and being a mom for
Yeah. So Nicole, if you could swap lives with someone for just 1 week to see what it's really like, who would you choose?
It's going to sound really silly, but I probably would be either Barbra Streisand or Dolly Parton. And the reason is my mother was an opera singer.
Oh.
And
Oh.
my mom used to always jokingly say, it's interesting how musical talent skips a generation. And my son is really enjoyed music.
Savant, yeah.
So, it's kind of fun to... So I'd love to have that passion. And the reason why I choose Barbra Streisand or Dolly Parton is they're two people that my mom really admired, right? And so I think I'd love to put myself in something where I could see it from her perspective.
That's fantastic. Okay, for both of you, what's a sound, smell, or sensation that instantly transports you to a specific memory or feeling?
Lemons.
Lemons? And what do you feel?
I feel Italy, Sorrento. And you think about limoncello, and you think about it's a wonderful trip that I did with my boys. My father, who was 81, my husband, and my son. It was just me and my 3 boys.
Oh,
That's amazing.
that's sweet.
Ready?
Sound. What do you say? Sound, scent.
Sound, smell, sensation that instantly transports you back to a specific memory or feeling.
I think I'll go with the scent like Nicole did, and I think the scent of tatami mats, because I lived in tatami mats, which are Japanese houses have tatami rooms. They used to be all tatami, and I lived in Japan several times actually for a total of about 5 years, and so there's something about that smell that like brings you back to Japan, and then
How cool.
what it was like being there, and yeah. So I think
That's
I
great.
think that's
That evocative feeling.
yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. It's been an amazing conference. Great to spend a lot of time with you and get to know you both. So thank you for really fantastic insights.
Thanks for having
About
us.
marketing, business, demand, playing our game, and telling the world a little more about yourself.
Thank you for having us. It was
Thanks
so
for
much
having
fun.
us.
All right, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the pod, please take a moment to rate it and comment. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere podcasts can be found. The show is produced by Anand Shah, production assistance by Taryn Talley, and edited by Laura Ballard. I'm your host, Rajiv Parikh, from Position Squared, an AI-enabled, AI-powered growth marketing agency based in Silicon Valley. You can find us at position2.com. This has been an Effin' Funny production, and we'll catch you next time. Be ever curious.